When World War II began in 1939, the Soviet Union decided to invade Finland, while everyone else was preoccupied with the war in Europe. But a sniper named Simo Häyhä came to Finland's defense. Häyhä allegedly eliminated a staggering 505 enemy soldiers, which, if accurate, would make him the deadliest sniper in history. Today we're taking a look at Simo Häyhä and his incredible marksmanship. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Wanda Discoveries channel, as Simo would have wanted it. Alright, let's get sniping. As you might expect, the invading Soviet soldiers grew straight up terrified of Häyhä. Having to patrol the white Finnish wilderness with the knowledge that Häyhä could be out there, waiting to pick them off with a long-range shot, earned him the nickname Belly Smrt, Russian for White Death. However, Häyhä's fellow Finnish soldiers had a different name for him. They called him Taikuri, or Magic Shooter. While that nickname may have been as accurate as Häyhä's shooting, we admit it's somewhat less intimidating than White Death. Häyhä's exact sniper count varies depending on the source. Some claim he took out as many as 542 Soviet soldiers with his rifle, but no one says it was fewer than 505. This makes him the most effective sniper in any war, with Soviet sniper Ivan Sereno in second place with 500 kills. However, Häyhä's count may even be higher. Instead of staying at a comfortable distance behind his sniper rifle throughout the war, Häyhä may have also taken out several hundred enemy combatants with a submachine gun. If true, his kill count would be around 800. That's a frightening number. Impressive, sure, but also wow, he was really good at his job. The Winter War lasted only a single winter, as its name suggests, meaning Häyhä was working hard to achieve his staggering record. Häyhä was eliminating an average of 5 to 6 enemy soldiers every day. Of course, some days were better than others. Häyhä managed an astonishing 40 confirmed kills in a single day and scored 25 and 20 on 2 other record-breaking days. The cloud of perpetual death in which he lived saw him promoted from corporal to second lieutenant, the biggest rank jump in Finland's military history. Häyhä did not use a scope to achieve his legendary sniper tally. He preferred to use the plain old iron sights on his rifle. Yeah, no scope. He was just an all-around old-fashioned badass. Beyond being hardcore, there was a strategic reason for this. Häyhä realized that scopes made enemies an easy target. Scopes would glint in the sunlight, allowing Häyhä to spot enemy snipers before they could spot him, in addition to making the target slightly bigger. At the time, every Finnish citizen was required to serve 1 year in the military, and Häyhä had completed his 14 years earlier in 1925. That was his entire military experience. He joined the Finnish Civil Guard as a reservist, essentially the equivalent of the US National Guard, but stuck to his civilian life of hunting and farming until the Soviets invaded in 1939, at which point he was called back to service. If his hunting record was anything like his war record, we suspect the deer around Häyhä's home had a nickname for him too. After completing his mandatory service in 1925, Häyhä was given the option to purchase his service weapon, a standard bolt-action rifle. He bought it and spent the next 15 years mastering it. When he was called back to duty during the Winter War, Häyhä brought his old bolt-action rifle, turning down a more modern rifle with advanced optics. The extreme cold, ranging from -20 degrees Fahrenheit to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, caused frequent weapon malfunctions among his fellow soldiers, but Häyhä's familiarity with his bolt-action rifle allowed him to keep it functioning throughout the winter. Although Häyhä had minimal military experience, he wasn't just born with incredible aim. He developed it through competitive sharpshooting. He grew up a few miles away from the Civil Guard shooting range, which held annual contests. Häyhä regularly participated in these competitions, filling his house with trophies. One of his accomplishments was the ability to hit a target 16 times in a minute at a range of 500 feet, talent that could best be described as supernatural. Häyhä was deployed to the Kola battlefield, where he and 31 other soldiers were tasked with holding off an invading force of 4,000 Soviet troops. Despite having fewer men than a college football team, Häyhä's group managed to hold their ground for the entire winter. That's some serious goal line defense right there. Häyhä and his fellow Finns had a few other advantages beyond his status as the Angel of Death sniper. For instance, the Soviet troops wore bright green uniforms, which stood out like Christmas trees against the snowy white landscape. Additionally, the Soviets lacked officers with leadership skills, mostly because Stalin had them executed during his purge of political opponents. Despite the Soviet invasion of Finland being technically successful, they only managed to capture a small amount of border territory, leaving the rest of the country intact. In the end, the Soviets suffered nearly 400,000 casualties during the Winter War, compared to Finland's 66,000. Most snipers shoot while lying flat on their stomachs to minimize their target. But Häyhä fired from a sitting position because he believed it was better for his aim. He didn't worry much about making himself a larger target, as he was just over 5 feet tall. He concealed himself in snowbanks and put snow in his mouth to hide his breath. Additionally, Häyhä would pack snow in front of his rifle barrel or pour water on it to freeze it, preventing smoke from rising after firing and giving away his position. In perhaps the biggest departure from sniper etiquette, Häyhä aimed for the center mass of his targets rather than going for the head, which is effective in wartime but wouldn't help him much on Black Ops 4 leaderboards. Häyhä's reputation as the John Wick of Finnish snipers eventually caught the attention of Soviet commanders, who grew tired of his success and began targeting him directly. Because getting anywhere near Häyhä was impossible, they began bombarding his general location with artillery strikes. When that didn't work, the Soviets sent teams of counter-snipers to take him out. However, Häyhä, being the sniper's sniper, dispatched them with chilling ease. Finally, one Soviet sniper got lucky and blasted Häyhä in the jaw with an exploding round. Despite being described by one friend as having half of his head missing, Häyhä refused to die. After days of reconstructive surgery, he regained consciousness the day after the Winter War ended. Despite having part of his face blown off in an era when medicine was still largely experimental, Häyhä survived World War II and went back to hunting and farming. In 1961, the Finnish government gave him a farm, presumably both as a reward for his service and because they likely wanted to stay on his good side. Häyhä took up dog breeding and continued hunting, winning the RO Ojala Hunting Society's Game Cup 5 years in a row. In 1970, he moved into a small apartment where he lived out the rest of his days before passing away at 96 in 2002. That's right. The deadliest sniper in World War II lived long enough to see the rise of NSYNC. Simo Häyhä left his quiet farm life in 1939 to become the most effective sniper in history, racking up over 500 confirmed kills without even using a scope, before returning home to live the rest of the 20th century in peace. What do you think of White Death? Let us know in the comments, and check out some of these other videos from Wanda Discoveries.